This video was brought to you by Squarespace. I'm sorry, you need a what? A website? Yeah, I can help you with that. All you need is Squarespace, my friend. Don't matter if you've never built a website in your life and you couldn't write a line of code to save said life. You just use the intuitive builder to edit and format text and images and anything. You can even start with a template if you want to save time. And in no time, you'll have an awesome looking site. You can do just about anything. Something for your business, show off your art, host your own videos, sell physical stuff, sell digital stuff. And if you need something a little extra, Squarespace offers lots of powerful extensions. I don't, I'm lazy. I just write blog posts and I use Squarespace's time-saving tools to get everything all loaded up and ready to publish and automatically push to social media ahead of time. And then what do? You guessed it. I watch the analytics. Built right in. Super convenient. To try out Squarespace for yourself, head to squarespace.com for a free trial. Then when you're ready to launch, head to squarespace.com/Arlo to save 10% off your first website or domain. And now for today's recommendation. Everything Is Going to Be Okay by Go Go Penguin. Been listening to this album a ton recently. Super uplifting and fun. Just really good stuff. Just don't tell me from 10 years ago I'm listening to something this jazzy. Thanks again to Squarespace. Now, on with what now? What? Jabak. A new generation of Nintendo hardware means a new generation of port begging. The exciting thing is, though, this time around, the sky's the limit, isn't it? The Switch introduced us to the idea of playing home console quality games on the go, so we spent many years begging for ports of every game imaginable. Any game that's worth playing is even better with a handheld option, right? The problem was that the Switch was pretty underpowered, so the best ports were of like Xbox 360 and PS3 games. Later generation games required considerable compromises to visual fidelity and performance. We did get some big later generation multi-plat releases, but you know, they were definitely running on Switch. Oh, now though? Dude, graphics are peaking. 9th gen games barely look better than 8th gen ones. And it's rare for a game to demand a ton of power in order to realize the gameplay itself. Basically, so many new games are still cross-gen, and the ones that aren't could still probably be scaled down without dramatic hits to fidelity in most cases. So if the Switch 2 is essentially like a little PS4, that means that a whole new world of potential ports is opening up. There are now relatively few limitations on what games could, in theory, come to Switch 2. And so, the port begging can now kick into overdrive. It's all fair game now, baby. And publishers, you're gonna hear about it. So now that we've got a much more capable Nintendo console, I wanna talk about some of the third-party games I would love to play handheld. And on that note, I am mainly focusing on the handheld element here. There are plenty of games that are on my to-play list that I would rather just play on my Xbox or my PlayStation. You know, something where it's a little shorter and I just want to roll credits and be done, or a game with such amazing visuals that I'm gonna want that extra horsepower. On Switch 2 though, I'm looking for games that would be particularly well suited to handheld play. You know, the kinds of games I want to have on hand. I want to be able to just pick up and put down whenever. And so, in no particular order, here are 10 third-party games I would love to play on Switch 2. Transition. First up, let's talk about Monster Hunter Wilds. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's a little funny to start off this list with Wilds. It's a 9th gen game, which would make a Switch 2 port a little trickier than most of the games on this list. But a much bigger problem is the state the game launched in. Capcom, they generally know how to make games. You know, they make games that are very pretty, very well optimized, and yet for whatever reason, no one can divine at this time, Wilds does not run very well. Mainly, it's the visuals, which tend to smudge together into kind of just a muddy mess. It just has a hard time maintaining a decent resolution. I don't know what went wrong here, and I do recognize that if the game struggles to run on even high-end hardware, a Switch 2 version would probably struggle all the more. However, I am still absolutely including Monster Hunter Wilds on this list because this is a game I would really, really love to play handheld. As I said in my review, despite performance issues and like a few strange design choices, Wilds is immensely enjoyable. Easy to sink countless hours into. I already played a really good bit on my Xbox, but you know, life got in the way. I don't know, just something about turning on the TV in the box. It's like too many extra steps. I guess that's why I'm so into Switch 2 ports in the first place. It just makes it so much easier to play a game when it's just sitting right there. I would love to be able to just pick the game up and mess around with it whenever. Plus, if we could play co-op using System Link, forget about it. Like, that's bringing my Switch 2 to a friend's house to play co-op Monster Hunter. That is now my preferred method of playing. That becomes the default. That'll be the single best way to enjoy Monster Hunter. I really loved having Rise on Switch, so Wilds on Switch 2, it's a no-brainer. If such a thing is in the realm of possibility. I don't know. I have to hope Capcom can make it happen. I just have to. Speaking of Capcom, there's another thing I would love to play on my Switch 2, and it's Resident Evil. Oh, which one? Oh, I mean, I don't know, all of them, basically, I don't know. I guess I should pick one, huh? Well, the amazing thing about Resident Evil games is they're just so darn replayable. Each one has its strengths, you know, each one offers something unique, and they all just get better and better as you learn them and master them and tackle higher and higher difficulties. So really any modern title would be great on Switch 2. Except 3. I don't know. You can keep 3. Maybe put it in the double pack with 2. I don't know. It's fine. 3's fine. It's not great. But yeah, they're all good. They all deserve a spot on Switch 2. And, you know, Capcom has been really great about porting them to basically any systems that can handle them. I mean, even the original Switch got some, like, cloud versions of the modern titles. So now that Switch 2 is here, I think we will probably see a bunch of RE ports. But in the spirit of the video, I will pick just one that I would like to see most, and it is 4. I almost picked 8 because it's a little more open and it's the newest mainline title at the time of this recording, and it's the one I've had the least amount of time with. 4 is more linear, and it's also long, and it's a remake of an older game, not even necessarily an original. But, I don't know, it's a remake of 4, but, like, it's also got all the strengths of the original, and all of these games are endlessly replayable, but, man, there is something about Resident Evil 4. Maybe it's the fact that it is kind of linear, so each playthrough is kind of like a run, you know, and there are so many little tricks to learn, gameplay elements to master, and shortcuts and quick kills. I don't know, it just gets better and better. So yeah, that's the kind of thing I want on my Switch 2. A game I can just run through any number of times. Or at the very, very least, I can boot it up and blast zombies with the Infinite Launcher for like 10 minutes whenever I want. That is an itch I get fairly often, I will admit, and it'd be nice for it to be a little easier and quicker to scratch. Next, we have got 3 games in one. The original Mass Effect is one of my favorite games of all time. Then Mass Effect 2 is a fantastic follow-up that majorly refines the gameplay, and Mass Effect 3 is the 3rd game in the series. Put them all together, you've got Mass Effect Legendary Edition. This remastered collection was created for 8th gen consoles, so it'd be right at home on Switch 2. It packs in all the DLC for all 3 games, apparently everything except Pinnacle Station, because they lost the source code. That's crazy. But yeah, everything looks better naturally, and the first game in particular received a lot of tweaks and modernizations, which is really, really exciting because I love the game, but it is pretty darn clunky. I've been wanting to play through the whole trilogy again for years now, and man, it would be so perfect on Switch 2. I mean, these are big RPGs. There's so much dialogue, so many characters. You can spend countless hours just getting lost in conversations. There's a big old galaxy to explore, so many locales, so many missions, and all the DLC. A lot of that is story DLC, and 3 entire games worth of content. I don't know, it really is a lot. Sure, it's literally impossible to so much as mention this trilogy without griping about the botched ending, but apart from that, I really do need to stress how much I love these games. The first one in particular, like, to sum it up, it's basically everything I love about Star Trek in video game form. I have never played a game that has gotten this close to being video game Star Trek. Mainly, it is the cool alien races and cultures and the moral quandaries. I love me a moral quandary. You know, the gameplay is well and good, but it's the world building and the writing I'm into most. So yeah, been dying to play these games again. Switch 2 port would be the perfect opportunity. Again, you know, turning on my Xbox, it's a whole thing. But having it right here, right in front of me, I am there. So this list is mostly dominated by older releases, so how about another newer game? When I first saw the trailer for Clair Obscur Expedition 33, it stood out to me. I mean, a modern fantasy game with turn-based action command heavy gameplay, a la Paper Mario? Of course you have piqued my interest. Well, I didn't really keep tabs on the game, so when I heard that everyone was super into this new game, this Clair Obscur Expedition 33 game, I was slightly surprised to find that, oh, hey, it's that one turn-based game that looked really cool. I still barely know anything about it. Like, I just know that it's really good, and everything I've seen looks incredible. The visual style is fantastic. The combat obviously looks super fun. The world is really interesting. I'm really curious about the plot. And did you know the game was apparently made by like a super duper small team of people? And it still looks this good? Yeah, I don't know, I'm really interested now. So I figure, hey, if this is a game I think I might really actually want to play, I might as well hope for a Switch 2 port. Turn-based gameplay is well suited to handheld devices, right? Kind of play at your own pace without being tied to a TV and all that, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't even matter. Maybe this is just a game I want to play right now, and so therefore I would like to have it on my Switch 2. I don't know. Whatever the case, fingers crossed it does well enough and it gets a port, because it really does look good. Okay, so a good chunk of the games on this list belong to a particular category, so let's talk about them all. That category is big fat RPGs I didn't have the time to play when they released, even though I really, really wanted to. Two of them, Dragon's Dogma 2 and Baldur's Gate 3, released pretty recently. They both offer deep, complex experiences, difficult gameplay that could at times even be described as player antagonistic. I'm getting into that. Great worlds and great writing and characters and all that, particularly in the case of Baldur's Gate. The kinds of RPG experiences you can just lose yourself in, which is something I just haven't done in ever so long, and I'm just really dying to do it again. I have heard nothing but great things about both of these games. I will admit I am slightly intimidated by Baldur's Gate's complexity. I am not the brightest video game player, and I have never played any of the previous games or even much D&D. Yeah, but somehow, the idea of casually picking up my Switch to play off and on, it's appealing. It makes it seem a little less overwhelming somehow. Then Dragon's Dogma, I only played a little bit of the first game, but I really, really liked it, so I am sure that the sequel will be even better. Both games are the kinds of ones that I tend to sit on them forever. Like, I could buy them both and download them right now and still never play them. So please, if there is any hope for me at all, it rests on Switch 2. Lots of games come and go without me playing them. I'm always experiencing some amount of FOMO, but these two games in particular, it hurt to miss the wave on these. Maybe if Switch 2 versions create something of a new wave, I can try to catch that. Then we've got another big RPG, but one that isn't necessarily new. The Witcher 3 did get a Switch version, and I actually played a pretty good chunk of it. As I talked about in my review impressions video, it was as good of a port as you could expect from a giant open-world RPG built for much stronger hardware. It was absolutely playable, and I did have fun for a bit, but after putting it down for a while, I don't know, I reached a point where I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna wait and play the real thing later, you know? Like, you really sacrifice a lot for the handheld experience, and I guess I just became done making that sacrifice. And I have bought the regular old console version. That's the thing. I have the stupid game on my Xbox or something. It's probably even downloaded. I just haven't gotten around to playing it. You see what I'm talking about? I don't know what it is. It's just really hard to dedicate myself to these massive open world games. So yeah, especially after playing enough to get a good taste, but not enough to be satisfied, I would absolutely love a Switch 2 version of Witcher 3. I mean, it's another one of those RPGs, the ones with the crazy good world building and the writing and the characters and the moral options and the quests and all that stuff. The kind of world you just want to get lost in. I want that. I want to have that again. I want that experience. Fortunately, CD Projekt Red seems to have a pretty good relationship with Nintendo. They put Witcher 3 on Switch in the first place, and now Cyberpunk 2077 is a Switch 2 launch title. So I can only hope that that game does well enough that we get a nice port of Witcher 3 on Switch 2 with a lot less compromise. Now, speaking of giant RPGs, older games I'd love to revisit, and newer games I hate missing out on, here's a game that somehow fits every category. At the time of this recording, Oblivion Remastered is relatively new, and it feels a little funny including it on this list. Skyrim was a great game on Switch, and I feel like after all these years, there should be more Bethesda games that I want to play handheld. But the last big Bethesda-style RPG was like not great, and I'm probably never gonna touch it ever again. Not gonna go on the whole Starfield rant here. I've got a review for that if you're interested. Man, sci-fi Bethesda RPG on a handheld. That should have been the single greatest gift in the history of video games, but whatever. And like, other than that, you've got Fallout 4, I guess. I haven't played it. I keep hearing iffy things about the writing and the quests, and that's like everything I loved about Fallout 3, so I don't even know if I feel like giving it a try. Yeah, like I had just about written off Bethesda. There didn't seem to be anything I really wanted on Switch 2. And then they released Oblivion Remastered, and I'm like, that one, please. Yeah, that one, that's it. That's the one right there. Wrap it up, I'll take it. And it's funny because I did enjoy my time with Oblivion back in the day. It was like my first big open world RPG, but I could not stand the leveling system, which is another rant I will not indulge in today. So when Skyrim came along, I left Oblivion behind, forever, as far as I know. But now, a remaster so thorough, so impressive, so definitive, that buyers feel like it should have been called a remake. One that modernizes the game, smooths out all the rough edges, all while maintaining every drop of the original charm. And they fixed the leveling system. Yeah, I don't know, that's it, I'm there. I'm there. You know, Fallout stinks now, Starfield stinks, Elder Scrolls 6 ain't coming out this decade, and if it's anything like Starfield, it's gonna stink. So if the new games ain't cutting it, yeah, I'll fall back on the old stuff. I don't mind. Oblivion is a janky, weird mess of a game, but it is also an amazing game, and I would love to play through it again. Even now, even considering the grueling, insurmountable hurdles in my way, you know, hooking up my Xbox and turning on my TV, I'm still, like, really tempted to play it. I've been trying to convince myself not to. But you put it on Switch 2, though? I don't know, that's the decision made. Okay, so Bethesda is a Microsoft thing now, right? So what about some other Xbox games? Oh man, yeah, like, I mean, there are plenty of PlayStation games I'd love to play handheld, but you know, that ain't happening. But Xbox? Nah, man, they're going multi-plat. They're putting games on whatever. I mean, essentially, their entire catalog is now on the table. You've got several generations of first-party Xbox games, all sorts of games I would love to play on my Switch too. Like, okay, so the problem with Xbox is that I really just don't care for most of their games. I don't know if that says more about them or about me, but it is what it is, I guess. And the ones I do care about, I'd rather just play on Game Pass. Like Avowed, you know, that's technically one of those recent RPGs with the big world and the writing and stuff that I kind of wanted to play, but I don't know, I'd rather just play it on Game Pass and be done with it. It doesn't really sound like a lose yourself kind of game based on what I've heard. And then I'm like tempted to choose Rare Replay just so I can play Viva Pinata handheld. That's another thing that I've talked about a pretty good bit. But you know what? If I've got to choose a game from this list, I choose Age of Empires 2. I have not played a lot of RTSs, but man, that is a good game. That is a very good video game. It's gotten multiple sequels over the years. Apparently, I don't know, I don't ever hear much about them. But AoE 2, no, that game is eternal. There is a reason it keeps getting remastered and re-released over and over again. And normally I'd prefer to play such a thing on PC, naturally, but oh, what's that? Mouse mode on Switch 2? Might even System Link be a possibility, dare I say? Because if so, then that is another case where playing locally with friends would be just incredible, mind-blowing fun. I don't know, maybe it would be a little tricky on that small screen, but I think they could probably make it work. I would settle for Viva Pinata, though. I mean, come on! It's practically an idle game. Just put it on Switch 2 already. All right, gotta get some FromSoft on this list. And you know, it's funny because we're already getting Elden Ring, which was already pretty much my #1 wish for Switch 2 ports. Like, it was #1. And the fact that it was basically the very first port announced in the very first Nintendo Direct, I don't know, that's still too funny to me. I just, in the first second, I'm just like, whoop, that's it. That's all I needed. Pack it up. We're done. That's all the Switch 2 ports I need. Oh, but I am greedy. There are other FromSoft games that I would love to play handheld. And, you know, I would obviously love some sort of Dark Souls trilogy collection or something, but FromSoft doesn't really seem to be into such collections. And I've already played a ton of the first and second games, and they were 7th gen games anyway, so they're already perfect on my Steam Deck. So let's just go with Dark Souls 3. I've played a lot of it, but that's the one that I have not finished completely yet. I haven't done that thing where I just completely immerse myself, just obsess over it for countless hours and many, many playthroughs. And it's 8th gen, so it's a little more impressive running on a handheld. Yeah, I mean, what else is there to say? I love Dark Souls. There's still one Dark Souls I have yet to complete, and Bloodborne ain't coming to Switch 2 anytime soon. So yeah, give me Dark Souls 3. I would really, I mean really, absolutely love to play it handheld. As with so many games, it would be much easier for me to chip away at. I would be much more willing to boot it up and try a boss for the zillionth time if it was as easy as just picking up my system. And I could play it on Steam Deck, but then I'd have to, like, charge it, you know? It's these extra steps. I just can't do it. And the final game on this list is a similar one. Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice is a FromSoft game, but you know, it's so different from the others that I've been very hesitant to try it. The lack of RPG elements is disappointing for sure, but it's the big emphasis on parrying that worries me most. I don't know, I love these games, but parrying in any game is something that I just can't seem to get a handle on. So I have stayed away from Sekiro, but there's always been this tiny little voice in my head urging me to at least try. And half of that voice is my own brain, and then the other half is this guy who shows up to most, if not all, of my streams just to pester me into playing Sekiro. Shout out to you, buddy, if you're listening. And if you are, this one's for you. I give you my word that if Sekiro comes to Switch 2, I will try it. I'll do it for you, buddy. And I'm still not sure if the game is going to be for me, but I mean, again, having it on Switch 2, that really would help an awful lot. You remove that barrier. There's 1 or 2 steps I have to take to start playing a game. You make it super simple. You drop in, drop out, pick it up, put it down. Now I'm willing to at least try. If I can put down Elden Ring long enough. So those are 10 third-party games I would love to play on Switch 2. And by 10, I mean 11. Because I don't know if you noticed, but there were actually 11. It's because I combined Dragon's Dogma and Baldur's Gate, and I didn't realize I still had 10 items on the script, not 10 games. And like, what am I gonna do? Delete a game that I wrote a whole blurb for? No way, man. And hey, I threw in that extra game for free because I like to provide my viewers with value. It's kind of like how I used to go to this fish and chips place, and their little thing was that however many pieces of fish you order, they'd always throw in an extra one. Just a fun little bonus. Which was like, I mean, I love free food, for sure, don't get me wrong, but like, is it free? Is it free though? I mean, you probably factored the extra into the cost, right? And like, I ordered 3 pieces. That's how hungry I am. If I could have saved money by ordering less, I probably would have done that. And like, I might not be hungry enough for 4, you know? This is fried food. It does not keep. You gotta eat it right there. I want fish and chips. Video games are stupid.